Back in 2024, I went to Germany to visit the Adidas headquarters, and in the basement, next door to the archives, that's where Adidas had me blind test a new midsole compound for 3 different shoes. One was not good. The second was okay, but the third was just right, and I tried to take it home. They told me it wasn't quite ready, but when it was, I'd be one of the first to try it. Fast forward almost 2 years, and now it's here. This is the Adidas Hyperboost Edge, and it's finally time to take it for a run. Yo, what's going on? My name is Kofuzi and I'm a non-elite runner who reviews running shoes here on YouTube. And today I want to talk to you guys about the Adidas Hyperboost Edge. But before I give you my thoughts on this shoe, I do want to go over some disclosures. This is a pair of shoes that Adidas sent to me for the purpose of review, so I did not have to pay for these shoes. However, nobody's paying me to make this video or to include their brand in this video, and no one's gonna get a chance to preview any of my footage or my thoughts before you guys get a chance to see this video on YouTube. I also want to disclose that even though this video is not a paid collaboration video, at the time that this video publishes, I will be in Los Angeles on location for the product launch of this shoe with Adidas, and that video will be a paid collaboration, and you are welcome to give that information the amount of weight that you do or don't think that it deserves. Now, with those disclosures out of the way, let's talk about the Hyperboost Edge, and let's start with the specs. This is a tall shoe, 45 millimeters of stack at the heel with a 6 millimeter drop, giving us 39 millimeters of stack height in the forefoot. And this shoe is unique for a couple of reasons. Number one, the foam that they're using, even though it looks familiar and it looks like Boost, it's not regular Boost or even the light Boost that we've seen previously and even more recently from other Adidas shoes. This is Hyperboost Pro, a brand new type of beaded foam that they're using. Now, I don't have information yet in terms of what exactly is the chemical nature of this beaded foam, but it is supposed to be lighter and bouncier than the other Boost iterations we've seen in the past. And the other thing that's really unique about this midsole is that this shoe doesn't have any sort of torsion bar or shank. Now, in a lot of Adidas shoes, even shoes that seem like they're going to be pretty straightforward and not have any sort of torsion bar or shank in them, Adidas likes to sneak that in there. So we've seen it in a lot of the old Ultra Boosts, there was that torsion bar, but we also saw it in the Evo SL, a shoe that looked like it was supposed to be just pure Light Strike Pro and didn't have a plate in it. There was in fact a little small piece of plastic in there to keep the shoe from twisting too much. This shoe has none of that. It's just foam and nothing but foam. There is this one little piece in the bottom, which I wasn't sure if this was like a hint or an indicator that there was a torsion bar in there, but this is just a little plastic piece that is a accent piece of flare that also provides stack height and heel drop information. While we're down here looking at this outsole, let's take a look at what is the rubber coverage. We pretty much have full rubber coverage except for that little plastic piece that's down here, and it's using light traction. There's a wavy tread pattern here for this material, which is a little bit see-through, so you can kind of see the foam that's behind this rubber outsole. Moving to the upper, we have Prime Weave, which is a TPU based material, and I think that this is one of the first running shoes. I'm pretty sure in the basketball space they've done this before, but I think in running shoes, I think this is the first time that we've seen an Adidas shoe without the 3 stripes on the upper. We've seen sometimes where it's on the upper and then bleeds onto the midsole, but in this shoe, they wanted to put it completely onto the midsole. I had a chance to preview this shoe back in December at the running event in San Antonio at the end of last year, and they didn't let me take any pictures of the shoe at that time, but they spent a lot of time talking about how the stripes were intended to be put lower, so that way when these shoes were styled with pants or jeans, the 3 stripes wouldn't be covered and the 3 stripes would always be shown. And another design flourish that we see on the upper is that we have a traditional lacing system, but there is almost like a little bit of a collar above it that insets the lacing, so you don't really see the crossover points where the laces switch directions. It's kind of tucked away in here to give it a more streamlined look. The tongue that's behind these laces is slightly padded, but overall very thin. And then we have some bumper pads in the heel cup, which Adidas is calling comfort pads that are going to make it more comfortable and more accommodating to fit a wider variety of heel sizes. Behind the comfort pads on the outer portion of this heel cup, we have this very smooth to the touch, very luxurious feeling panel, which also has a name badge placed on top of it to complete the look. And so a lot of different elements here borrowing from sports style, from other sports. As far as fit goes, I went with my usual running shoe size on this one, and I felt like the shoe was very comfortable. I'm gonna recommend for everyone else to go with their normal running shoe size if they're thinking about this shoe. And I will say the one thing that this shoe avoids from its Ultra Boost legacy is the fact that those shoes all tended to be a little bit on the long side for some reason. This shoe doesn't have that. There's still the right amount of space that I'm looking for, both in terms of the width of the toe box and the height of the toe box, but it didn't seem like there was that extra length of shoe at the front of this one. I feel like they got the fit on this just right. Altogether, this shoe comes in at a competitive weight, especially for a shoe of this size where there's this much midsole to it. Adidas touts as one of the benefits of Hyperboost Pro being that it's lighter than the previous Boost iterations. My US men's size 9 reference size shoe came in at a measured weight of 8.7 ounces and 248 grams. Now that we talked about what this shoe is like on paper, let's talk about what it's like on the road. I'm happy to say that with the Hyperboost Edge, Boost is back. I feel like this is the Ultra Boost shoe that I always knew that Adidas could make and that I always wanted for Adidas to make. It is soft, like a max cushion shoe, but it's also bouncy and it's surprisingly fast. The kind of experience that I'm getting is as my foot hits this shoe, it is compressing the foam. It's not really collapsing it, but it is compressing it a moderate amount, and then that moderate amount of compression is snapping back in a very pleasant kind of timing that makes this shoe feel like it wants to go a little bit faster. So I can take it for that really relaxed, easy run, and the shoe does a good job there, but I also like it for just regular daily training and also for faster running as well. There's a wide range of paces that I like for this shoe. The foam that's in here finally feels like an advance in the technology of Boost that brings Boost into a modern era. Now, Adidas is calling this shoe their, quote, first lightweight non-plated super trainer. And I don't really like the term super trainer. If you've watched a lot of my videos, you know that I just don't know what a super trainer is. It doesn't tell me anything about what a shoe has in it or what a shoe is for, and the only thing it really signals is that the shoe is going to be expensive. Rather, I like to think about shoes as what the use case is for this shoe, and I feel like this shoe is a really great max cushion shoe. It's really tall, it's got a lot of cushion to it, but it's also got this brand new foam, the Hyperboost Pro foam, that I think makes it very bouncy and lively, more lively than a super soft, relaxed max cushion shoe typically is. And so I feel like this can definitely be used for your daily training, everyday, normal kind of runs, but it also does like to pick up the pace quite a bit as well. And so for those longer runs, when you got some speedy miles in there, or maybe it's early in the training block and you've got some fartleks that you want to do, I think that the Hyperboost Edge is a shoe that you can definitely reach for. And it's a lot of fun. I've been having so much fun running in this shoe. Every time I get to put it on and take it for a test run, I feel like I've been really looking forward to it and also enjoying it while I'm doing that run. I think this could be a really great marathon shoe for some people as well. If you're not interested in buying a whole closet full of running shoes, or maybe you don't want a carbon plated, super aggressive race day shoe. If you want a shoe that's going to be very comfortable and help you get to the finish line for that marathon, I think that the Hyperboost Edge could be a really good option for you. Personally, for me, for my faster workouts, my tougher workouts, and for my racing, I do like having those aggressive race day shoes. So it's not really for me, but I do think that depending on what your goals and objectives are, this could be a really good fit. And regardless of whether you're going to use this for your race day or not, I think that the Hyperboost Edge is a shoe that is a lot of fun that I look forward to picking up every time I get a chance to run in it. Next, let's go over the buying guide and then we'll also discuss some alternatives. The Adidas Hyperboost Edge is a max cushion shoe with an incredible amount of pace versatility. It's a shoe that I could use for my really slow recovery run days, to my everyday training, and to my speedy long runs. I also think that it could make for a really good marathon option for those of you looking for an alternative to the super aggressive carbon plated race shoes. This shoe will be selling for a price of $200, which makes it more expensive than an Ultra Boost, and it will be available for a limited release on March 14th with a broader release happening shortly after that. There isn't a prior version of the Hyperboost Edge to look back to for discounts, but there are a lot of other shoes within Adidas that I think are worth considering. Now, the first shoe that I think we need to talk about is the Ultra Boost, which is the shoe I've already been talking about a lot. This is the most recent version. This is the UB5X. Now, the UB5X was a shoe that I thought was a really big improvement from the last several iterations of Ultra Boost, which I think had kind of been languishing. I prefer this upper. I prefer the styling of it. It is a little bit dated. We've seen kind of this silhouette for a really long time, and so it doesn't have the kind of reinvention that I think the Hyperboost Edge so appropriately brings. But the knit material, and I'm a sucker for knit material, is really comfortable on this shoe, so I find the comfort of the UB5X to be better than what's on the Hyperboost Edge. The running mechanics on this shoe are a little bit different. It's a heavier material because of the light boost, notwithstanding the name, and it's a bit more dense. So it's a shoe that I like for just kind of easy running. The use case is a lot more limited in my mind in terms of that shoe. It's really comfortable for casual use and for run walk as well. And it's another shoe that is also going to be good for my bigger, taller friends, but I could say a lot of those same things about the Hyperboost Edge as well. The price on this one is substantially different. The UB5X initially retailed for $180, but that shoe has been out for a long time now. So you can now find this shoe at a discount of $153. So basically $50 cheaper is quite a bit of money. And I'd say that if you are looking at the Hyperboost Edge, you're probably looking to spend a little bit more money. The Ultra Boost has always been kind of a more expensive performance and fashion shoe. The Hyperboost Edge seems to be following that pattern. And so I'm not sure that this is strictly a budget buy, but if you are looking to save some money, $50 cheaper, Ultra Boost 5X is a pretty compelling option, but personally, I'm just loving what's going on in the Hyperboost Edge. Now, the other shoe that I think is a much more difficult comparison, even though the shoes are even more different, comes from another shoe in that same price range. This is the Adidas Evo SL. Now, this is a shoe that was my shoe of the year last year. I already mentioned it earlier when I was talking about shanks. It has a little plastic shank inside the shoe from a torsion perspective, but otherwise it uses all Lightstrike Pro, an older generation of Lightstrike Pro, but a race caliber foam, and it has a pretty stripped down and minimal upper. Now, this is a shoe that I like because it's lightweight and it's pleasantly squishy, but it's also pleasantly speedy. And I feel like because it was so fun, because it was so well priced, and because I felt like so many people could run well in it, that's what really gave it that Shoe of the Year award for me. And I feel like there's a lot of things that are like that are happening in the Hyperboost Edge. I feel like a lot of people are going to be able to have fun in it, but it's not as well priced as the Evo SL is, and the way that it is versatile is slightly different. I'd say the main differences between these two shoes is that they both do everyday training really well. The experiences are, this one's really soft and squishy, this one is really bouncy, and I think that's kind of the best way I can distinguish these two from the daily training run perspective. I'd say the Hyperboost Edge is going to do max cushion, very cushioned running a little bit better, and the Evo SL is going to do faster running a little bit better. So kind of on the opposite ends of the speed spectrum, that's where some differences lie, but there's a lot of overlap in the middle and kind of the everyday training paces, and picking which shoe is better for you is really going to come down to what kind of experience you want. But there is that big price difference, $150 for a shoe that I much more prefer the design of the Evo SL. I like the look of the Evo SL. It kind of speaks to me as a run first, style second kind of guy, and that $150 price, which I'd love for that to be on sale by now, but I think it's going to stay at $150, is an amazing value for what you're getting there. So I think that for me, when you're considering the price in it too, the Evo SL is still the better buy. But there's still one more shoe from Adidas that I think we need to talk about before we start talking about other brands, and that is the Boston. This is the Boston 13. Now, I think that these two shoes end up sitting in a lot of the same spaces in terms of use case, but they're doing it in a very different way. So in terms of use case, I feel like the Boston does a really good job of just daily training. And for some people, I think it's going to be a really good max cushion shoe. In fact, I think some years I've evaluated it as a max cushion shoe because it's kind of cushioned. And for me, I like it kind of most when I'm running just chill, easy miles in it. But it also can pick up the pace. So those speedy long runs, I feel like the Boston does a good job. But for the really fast stuff, I think that neither of these shoes is one that I'd really reach for. But the way that they're doing it is different. In the Hyperboost Edge, we've got that Hyperboost Pro beaded foam. In this shoe, we've got Light Strike Pro and Light Strike, and we've got energy rods in it as well. So this kind of fits more in that Adizero side of the Adidas lineup, where things are very performance-based. They put a plate in it or a carbon element in it when they can, and it fits more in the silo of that like pure performance kind of range of shoes. And so that's kind of where the, I guess, theoretical or philosophical differences between those two shoes lie, but they overlap substantially in terms of what the use cases are. In terms of which shoe do I like more, I'd say for pretty much everything that the Boston does, I would rather have the Hyperboost Edge. It's just a lot more fun in everything that it does, and I think that it does all those things better. Now, in terms of price, the Boston comes in at a price of $160, so it is $40 cheaper than the Hyperboost Edge, so it's quite a bit cheaper, and that kind of price difference is not one that I take lightly. But I think you should also know that I haven't been a big fan of the Boston since 2020, back when it had Boost in the heel. So now let's take a look at what the rest of the market has to offer. And let's take a look first at a shoe that I think on paper and in terms of who they're targeting with the shoe lines up pretty much exactly the same. It's another shoe that uses some versions of older tech, and it uses some versions of new tech. And it is definitely designed with style in mind as much as performance. And that shoe is the Pegasus Premium. Now, in terms of like the resuscitated older design, it's that edge-to-edge air zoom pocket, which we haven't seen for like 8 or 9 years, I think, since the Zoom all-out low. But we've got it again here in an updated form. There is Zoom X here and React X, which is, I guess, an updated version of an older foam as well. The upper on this shoe is premium and definitely very fancy. I think the shoe looks great. But it is overbuilt in a lot of ways from a performance perspective, and it is extremely heavy. It's 2 ounces heavier than the Hyperboost Edge. It puts it like almost 25% heavier than the Hyperboost Edge for the same US men's size 9. It's a shoe that is good to run in. I enjoy running in it. It's fun, but it's not a shoe that I want to run in for a very long time. But the shoe does look great. You are paying a premium for the Peg Premium as well, as that shoe comes in at $220. And then the other shoe that I think lines up comes from Asics, and this is the Superblast version 3. I have it in 2 different colors. I much prefer this white colorway. And this is a shoe that is also trying to do some similar things in terms of use case, and I think in terms of style. The Superblast 3 is using a high-end racing foam as a top layer, and then it uses a daily training foam to kind of even things out on the bottom layer. It has a very comfortable upper, and it's a very tall shoe. And again, I think that the use cases for these shoes overlap quite a bit. Some people are going to use this shoe or both of these shoes as max cushion, just very chill, everyday running kind of shoes, but I love both of these shoes when you're picking up the pace for those speedy long runs or for those steady runs. That's where I feel like the foams really start to come to life in each of these shoes. Now, this shoe, the Superblast 3, comes in at $210, which is a 1 tariff more expensive than it was last year, which is pretty annoying, but it's pretty same price, $210 versus $200. And so there are a lot of similarities between these shoes on paper, but on foot, the experiences are really quite drastically different. There's a lot more softness to the Superblast 3. I'm feeling a lot more compression and decompression in a very dynamic way that feels really fun for me as well. A different kind of fun, but still really fun. I also really look forward to any time I get to test the Superblast 3 and put some longer miles in this shoe, and I really enjoy both of them. Deciding between these two shoes is really tough because they're not doing the same thing in the same way. They're doing the same thing in very different ways. So again, I think a lot of it in terms of which shoe is quote unquote better is going to come down to preference. You want that bouncy boost-like experience, but updated for the modern era, go with the Hyperboost Edge. If you want a really dynamic shoe that's going to be both soft and also speedy, I'd say go with the Superblast 3. I think with my preferences, I think I'm leaning towards the Superblast 3, but I think if you are a shoe nerd or a running shoe enthusiast, you definitely want to get both of them. And I know that's a lot of money, but you're gonna have a lot of fun. So those are my thoughts on the Hyperboost Edge. I'm super excited about this shoe. It's one that I've been waiting literally for years for Adidas to finally release, and I'm glad that it's here. If you have any questions about this shoe or any of the shoes that I talked about today, feel free to put them in the comments down below, or better yet, stop by the live stream that I do Mondays and Thursdays over on the Kofuzi Run Club channel. I'd love to see you guys over there in the chat. That's all I have for today, everybody. Thanks so much for making it all the way to the end of this video. Hopefully you guys are staying safe out there on your runs, and I will see you in the next one.
Yo, what's going on?